Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Get Off the Damn Fence. That's right. It's another week. We appreciate you joining us one day early on a Monday night for Get Off the Damn Fence. We want to say happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, which is tomorrow. New Year's Eve, we'll be celebrating tomorrow night. If you are going to be celebrating, we ask that you be responsible, have a good time. I'm joined as I am each and every week by our co-host Calvin Thomas, Justin B.A. the Barber Harris. Gentlemen, how y'all doing tonight?
Doing all right.
What's good with you? What's good with you?
All right. How was your holidays?
Holidays was pretty good. It was pretty good all around. Not everybody had the joyous occasion to feature their significant other in jingle bells and bubbles and everything via social media. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone had the pleasure of doing that.
Who you talking about? Who you talking about?
Us married folk didn't do that. That was a single fellow that
I never heard that once you get married, you got to stop the thrill. You know what I mean?
Look,
y'all need to keep the romance up.
You in love when you do that stuff.
Hey, I think everyone should be in love if you with somebody. So it is what it is. But I get it. Don't get comfortable, you two. You in your first year of marriage, Justin. You need to keep up the romance. And speaking of, happy birthday to your lovely bride.
That's why this is our long show. It's her birthday. We won't have the 2-hour show that we try to do. We want to make this short and sweet for the people because we got to get the people what they want.
That's it. So we will be having a abbreviated, just NFL version of the show tonight. So for all the NBA talk, we'll get back into that next week. And, as the weeks come on, we won't have as many NFL games since next week is the last week of the regular season. So we'll have more time to dive into some more NBA and also other sports that are on the horizon. So let's not waste any time tonight. Let's get right to it. This past weekend, a week really, because the week actually started last Wednesday on Christmas Day. We saw 2 games featured on Christmas on Netflix. One of those games, so I uploaded the wrong drive. So anyway, anything really stood out to you from your Christmas Day experience watching the NFL? Calvin, I'll start with you. What did you think about that Kansas City and Pittsburgh game especially?
I'll say what I've said the last 2 weeks. 3 weeks ago, I said the Pittsburgh Steelers will not win another game this NFL season. They've lost 3 in a row. They got one more to go. Kansas City put the beat down on Pittsburgh. And now, did they have some help from the refs? Were there a couple questionable calls? I do think that's the case as well. But Kansas City was clearly the better team in Pittsburgh on Wednesday on Christmas. Pittsburgh they have some issues on offense, and I think they're finally getting exposed with rust. They don't have the big play capability. If you watch Hard Knocks, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago. They basically the defense coordinator Zach Orr basically said, "Look, he's either hitting a home run or he's throwing it out the backfield. There's no medium. There's no intermediate passing game in this offense."
He said 3-pointers or layups.
3-pointers or layups. That was what he specifically said. And if you look at the Pittsburgh offense, that's what it's been with Russell Wilson in the passing game. It's been 3-pointers, long passes, or layups, which are passes out the backfield to the running backs. That's what it's been. There's no intermediate passing game. There's no threat of a slant, anything, or a comeback route, anything like that. And that's what the offense has become. And they've become predictable. And they have started to sputter on offense. And the defense is starting to give up more and more points to Philadelphia, to Baltimore, and to Kansas City. If you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, what do you want on Saturday, I should say? Do you want to try to win and play Houston? Do you want to lose and play Baltimore again? What do you want? How they have the question, because I think Baltimore wins, but last week they were further exposed. I don't think they're going to win another football game this season.
Justin, what did you think of the game on Wednesday between the Chiefs and the Steelers that kicked off the NFL week?
One, great editing on your part. You caught right up. I see that right there. All right. 2, we're looking at. I can understand Calvin taking the Pittsburgh point of view, but on the Kansas City side, they're 15-1. So mostly everybody they came across. Everyone else called the L except for Buffalo. Now, the last game of the season, they don't have to have their horses out there. We'll see what they decide to do. But they probably treated like the old school preseason, maybe play a half or something like that, and then call everybody back because they still are getting pieces incorporated with the offense. We was looking for Travis Kelce all year, eight catches, 80+ yards, touchdown. He's starting to come into form. They have to introduce Hollywood Brown to get him incorporated with the offense. Xavier Worthy is now playing a slot receiver, so you can't even touch him from the line of scrimmage. He has more free reign to roam around and things like that. So he's getting into top tier when it comes to going into the postseason. So when I'm looking at Kansas City, their defense allowed 10 points. Great job on the defensive front. And then they flip it on the offensive side. And Patrick Mahomes is looking like the MVP version of Patrick Mahomes that we used to see back a year or two ago. So with all that being said, Kansas City is just going into their catching the right groove at the right time. And that should be dangerous for the whole entire AFC. That's the one team you didn't want to see start to operate on all cylinders. And that's where they're going to at the right particular point in time.
I agree. They look sharp. Again, I think that had a lot to do with the opponents that played the last couple weeks in Houston and losing Tank Dell the way they did. And then also the Steelers.
One would argue those are playoff teams, though.
They are playoff teams, and I'm not taking nothing away from them. But I thought Kansas City looked sensational. So I will not – I was rooting for them, so I didn't mind. I mean, the destruction of the Steelers on Christmas, thank you. Because after that game, then we got to witness – the Ravens absolutely
destruction.
Beat.
Who called that? Who called that destruction of a game?
You called it.
You said the non-Raven fan understood.
You did. You called it, and you said, "Look, this would not be close." I mean, look, defensively, the Ravens are clicking on all cylinders, guys. And look, we can talk about the offense. We can talk about Derrick Henry. Those are givens. Derrick Henry is a given. They give the ball to Derrick Henry consistently, often, early, let him get a rhythm. Look, that safety, whatever, it happened. But I said this. I was in a house full of Ravens haters because down there, for some reason, a bunch of Steelers fans down in North Carolina in the Virginia Beach area where I was at. And these haters, all they wanted to do was see the Ravens lose. And when when the Texans got that safety, here come the momentum. If they score here, then I'm like, okay, they won't score again. I said that. I said they will not score again. And these dial on there, they didn't score another point. This defense was absolutely phenomenal. And what did I say last week, Calvin? I wanted to see how they would play against a top receiver in this league. And once it was established that, look, Nico Collins is the guy who gets the assignment of the double team this week. He is the guy we will have to pay attention to. It was an absolute shutdown. And credit, Michael, what's his name? Orr, whatever. Zach Orr, Dean Pease, the whole coaching staff, Kyle Hamilton, everybody for buying into the scheme. Roquan Smith said he took a lot of pressure off of him. Kyle was like, what did I say earlier this season?
We talked about that.
I said the problem with this defense, I said this from the beginning, is Kyle Hamilton, and he's playing too much like he's a linebacker. He's playing down in the box. He's always at the line of scrimmage. And people like the little splash plays he make here and there. But is making the back end deceptible. If he's your best safety, his ass needs to be back there. And that's ever since they made that change, you've seen a difference in this whole thing. I'm going to give everybody else their credit for playing their position. But that move was the key move to make this defense better. Again, y'all can talk about the offense all you want. The defense is what is going to be the key to this team going as far as they need to. Running the football, let Lamar play off that well. And defensively, they're going to have to go up against the Buffaloes. They're going to have to go up against the Kansas Cities. They're going to have to go up against the possibly Pittsburghs again at full strength. And they're going to need that defense to travel. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Didn't realize they quietly have booking pass rushers that will possibly could have double-digit sacks.
Kyle Van Noy.
Van Noy and Owe. Owe has 9 sacks. Quietly has 9 sacks.
I mean, a couple of them were thief sacks. They weren't know. He put his hand on the guy once he's
gotten 2 more sacks. He's averaged 2 more sacks every year. So he went from 3.5 to 5 to 7 to 9. Booking pass rushers, Kyle Van Noy having resurgence, found that fountain of youth. The defense is playing well. offensively, when you get Justice Hill back and you get that threat out the backfield with that pass catcher, we saw what he can do on those long runs. You get Bateman a little healthy. You get Zay a little bit healthy. I'm still waiting for the OBJ signing. I'm gonna say it. I'm still waiting for that OBJ signing. It hasn't happened yet. You possibly have. I'm not gonna say the Calais signing, but you still have that OBJ signing possibly. Look, if this offense is scary, and I don't think there is a defense that could in the AFC that could match this offense at their full potential when they're running on all cylinders. And this defense is better. This defense will be the best defense in the playoffs in the AFC.
And you're not to cut you off, but you notice Bateman hasn't even been healthy the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Aguilar, not even on the field.
Yeah.
Justice Hill, not even on the field.
Yeah.
Giving Derrick Henry a steady dose of carries might be best for the offense and not rotating them in and out with the third down back. I think having Henry on the field for these screen passes has been the revelation of the whole season to me.
Yeah,
because they don't need to keep taking them out.
There should not be a game in the playoffs where Derrick Henry touches the ball less than 25 times. I'm not strictly not runs, but you throwing some screens. This is Derrick Henry, especially now. I don't think this is going to happen. We'll talk about this a little bit later. Especially if you go to Buffalo, I don't think that happens. But especially if you go someplace like that when the weather is cold, is windy, something like that.
Somebody said something like that early in the year. I can't remember.
And then somebody said he needs to get him late.
You said early in the year, and that's the thing that I honestly think Harbaugh was trying to slow the reins down as long as he possibly could. We know what they needed to do. I'm not. He's not stupid. He knew what he needed to do as well. He just couldn't sit there in front of everybody week 10 and yo, we done burned Henry out. He done. You know what I'm saying? So you wait until as long as you can, and this is now. This is the time is now.
Winning time.
He just had 27 carries, whatever the case. So that's where you want to build from that. You build on it heading into the playoffs because no team really goes into the playoffs like if you're dead in the water. I sparked it. I turned the light switch on, and next thing you know, we roll it. No, you pretty much kind of get some type of steam headed in towards the playoffs. So the fact that the Ravens found that now, the fact that Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, I mean, come on, Lamar Jackson. Let's just give a second to just see how spectacular this dude is. I was commenting on the game a little bit in the group chat. That one play where the defender had him dead to rights, and he was scared to press up on him because Lamar was like, yo, wherever you go, I'm going to go the opposite way, and you can't stop me. I had a feeling that this Texas team, they are just coasting until a first round exit. Unfortunately, it is what it is for them. Hopefully they'll be better next year. But with that being said, it's all about Lamar Jackson and his greatness is being shown right now. He doesn't have to have 300-yard passing. He can get away with 150 as long as it's in a dominating form, whereas though every play, every catch matters for him. And that's what we saw. It was just a complete destruction of a team. One team headed to the playoffs as a top tier seed. The other team is literally limping, crawling into the playoffs. And unfortunately, Houston Texans, good luck next year.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about the Ravens in a second, but I do want to talk about the year 2 of CJ Stroud. And look, they went out and got him some weapons. Hasn't worked out with Diggs. Tank Dell got hurt again, but he wasn't looking that sharp with Tank Dell. Calvin, I know preseason you picked him to be your MVP.
Yeah.
You thought they would be the number 1 overall seed. Yeah. And look, they still won the division. That's nothing to sneeze at in the NFL. Winning the division, getting the playoffs, that's important. Anybody can get hot. But what have you seen from CJ in year 2 that you liked, and what have you seen that you haven't liked?
One thing I haven't liked, I see an offensive line that just allows too much pressure and doesn't catch stunts. You can even go back to the Ravens game when you see the stunts from Michael Pierce. They got a sack from playing the defensive end position where he's stunning outside and went inside and got the CJ. The offensive line has played poorly this year. Now, they've had a ton of injury at the wide receiver position. Tank Dell, who could probably miss next year as well. Stephon Diggs towards ACL early in the year. They had arguably the best 3-receiver combo going to the league. Nico Collins missed a bunch of games early in the year as well.
True.
They just weren't able to stay healthy. Mixon had a slight resurgence, but he kind of fell off late as well. But it's that offense really let them down. And defensively, they can't get pressure on the quarterback, and they can't stop the pass right now. And I don't know if that's just bad coaching. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive specialist, former defensive player, just wasn't able to scheme those things up. But between the injuries and just the poor play all around, I think that's what's concerning. And CJ, he took a step back and kind of regressed because he was trying to do so much when he knew I'm down this player, I'm this receiver, I'm my tight end, I'm down my running back, and I have to make a play. And the pieces around him weren't there to help him make a play and to help him take a step up. So a year when they get healthy, hopefully hopefully Tank Dell's back as soon as he can be. Maybe they re-sign Stephon Diggs on a 1 or 2 year deal, just seeing as though he's playing for that contract now. So maybe that's what we see. But ever since that, I want to say that Chicago game was probably his last good game of the season. He's just struggled with everything, and I'm partly blaming on the offensive line and it's the injuries that they've had so far this season.
Yeah, definitely is a regression. So let's keep it moving because we got some other things we need to cover. And one of those things is definitely the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals were able to get a big victory that they needed over the Denver Broncos. Both of these teams fighting for that last playoff spot in the AFC, that 7 seed. And we're going to talk about some playoff scenarios that need to happen this coming weekend. But the Cincinnati Bengals are probably one of the hottest teams in the league, winning 4 in a row. It's a team that a lot of people do not want to see them get into the playoffs. Joe Burrow probably playing some of the best football we've seen him play in his career or anybody. He's over 5,000 yards. I think, damn, that's ridiculous. Like, he threw for 5,000 yards in the season. I think he got like 43 touchdowns. That's huge numbers. Any other year, he possibly is the MVP of the league, but not this year because 8 wins, I don't think that gets you MVP. I think that's phenomenal. We've seen Matthew Stafford, heard Shannon say that this morning. Yes, we've seen other players put up phenomenal numbers in the past, but if you can't put those numbers to make wins happen, what exactly have you done? But if they get into the playoffs, is this a team that anybody really wants to see? Justin?
So let me just say something right quick, right? I'm just reading some stats. Joe Burrow, of course, we know he had a great game. But when it comes to the receiving end, right? T. Higgins, 11 catches, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
So we're going to stop. So they did their best to stop Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, 9 catches, 100 yards. He just didn't get into the end zone because the other guy was getting to the end zone. And then, like, you know what? Those are dominating. Nobody else is dominating. Then you let Gesicki. He gets 10 catches, 86 yards. I mean, the dude was just throwing the ball all over the place, and Denver has a pretty good defense.
They did at one point.
It comes and goes for them, and it definitely went. When you say that, is this one of the toughest teams or one of the most afraid teams? Yes, they are one of the most feared teams because any given week you can get this kind of performance, and it's just like, hopefully we on ourselves. But that's the thing. Usually when they're firing like this, you have your shots as well. They're not putting forth dominant performances as you go along. So, yes, it looks great. If you just watching, it's a whirlwind of just nothing but Bengal stats. But then it went into overtime, which means it had to be close for some reason.
Exactly.
Joe didn't have any interceptions. So Bo Nix actually went off as well. He just had an interception, and he just couldn't make the right plays at the opportune times. But in this situation, Denver, they win 1, they're in. So they don't have to worry about it too much. They just got to win 1 more game. It's still hard for Cincinnati to get in. They have to Denver has to lose the next game, and Miami has to lose the next game.
We'll go through all the scenarios. I just want to know.
Understood.
Is that the team that you don't want to see, Calvin?
Yes. And I know we're going to go through the scenario. I've said this by the last week and a half. If Cincinnati gets in, I think the AFC Championship game is in Baltimore. That means I think Cincinnati beats Buffalo. I think Cincinnati beats Kansas City because I think that offense can score in so many different ways. With those 2 receivers.
But the two teams you just named, they can put up points.
They match up.
You're right. You're right. But I think in both of those games, I think the best quarterback and I think the best receivers are wearing orange and black. That's it. And I think if you tell me, I don't care what I think we're at the point now where Joe Burrow knows every time I get the ball, I need to score a touchdown. And that's the mentality that they have. We can't get field goals. We can't get stopped because we don't know what our defense is going to give up. We need touchdowns, and we're going to force the other offense to be perfect as we are. And I don't know if they could do that. They hot. I don't know if
They
anyone
loaded,
wants
man.
to face them.
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone wants to face them right now. They're hot.
They hot.
Hot.
So
this is coming from a Ravens fan.
Does Joe Burrow belong in the MVP discussion right now? The people who are getting talked about, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, a lot of people say he's the leader in the clubhouse. He should win it. He's never won an MVP before. A lot of people think that's what should happen. Lamar Jackson making a hell of a case for himself, especially the last 3 weeks ever since the bye week, putting up phenomenal numbers. 43 total touchdowns for Lamar, 41 for Josh Allen, 4 interceptions to 6. I mean, you're splitting hairs at that point. Lamar got him by about 300 yards rushing. So maybe that's what you separate about it. More rushing yards, more passing yards, more total touchdowns, less turnovers. I mean, but Josh Allen has more wins, got him by 2 wins. So what do you value more? What is an MVP? Does Lamar Jackson have more weapons? Does Derrick Henry cut into Lamar Jackson's MVP case? Because we see even last week, Derrick Henry had $140. The week before, Derrick Henry had $140. And does Lamar get that privilege of playing with such a bell cow back? Not that the running back for the Bills is chopped liver or nothing like that, but you don't fear him the way you fear looking at Derrick Henry back there. So does Joe Burrow deserve consideration? Let's not forget about Saquon. We're going to talk about him in a minute. Just crossed over 2,000, has a chance to break the all-time record. If they play him on Sunday, we'll talk about whether they should or not. Calvin, I'll start with you. Who's your MVP right now heading into the final week of the season? And tell me why.
Look, I think Joe Burrow has a great year. Don't think he belongs to be in the MVP conversation. In my opinion, now, if you're an MVP, you got to win your division. Previous to the change in the playoff format, I say you would have to be top 2, so you have to have a bye, but now there's only one bye. At worst, you have to win your division, in my opinion, now. Everyone that talks about last year and the stats, last year quarterback stats were down across the board, and that's why Lamar won with the stats that he did, because he beat every playoff team that he played. And we get that.
Josh Allen had a lot of turnovers last year. People forget that part.
Correct. Too. And Josh Allen was not second in MVP voting. He was 5th. He was behind Dak. He was behind CMC. And I think Purdy was 4th as well, or maybe somebody else. But he was 5th. So let's not just say he was finished 2nd, and it was this great travesty that he finished 2nd. Now, going into this season, I did not have high hopes for the Buffalo Bills. They exceeded my expectations. In addition, they have not played anyone besides a Kansas City team that everyone has talked about as not being as good as they are, and a Detroit team that I'm high on. The Baltimore Ravens of Lamar Jackson, if you look at the AFC playoff picture, they are 5-2, I believe, against those 7 teams. I think that, 5-2 against those 7 teams. I'm sorry, 6-2. You're right, 6-2. Yeah. They split against Pittsburgh, and they lost against Kansas City. They've beaten everybody else in that playoff picture. Now, as far in regards to MVP, I think you have to look at numbers. You have to look at expectations. So, in my opinion, because of the expectations I had on the Buffalo Bills, I have Josh Allen as the MVP. I do think it's close. I do think it comes down to a couple of votes. I don't think it's a landslide. I don't think it's unanimous, but I think Josh Allen deserves to be the MVP because of what he's done with this team. I'm not trying to say they aren't as talented as the Ravens, and I don't think talent around you should matter as much when you look at Tom Brady win the MVP with Randy Moss, or Peyton Manning winning with 2,000-yard receivers, or Aaron Rodgers winning Devontae Adams. That shouldn't matter as much. But when I look at expectations, I did not have Buffalo win in the playoffs, I don't think, in the beginning of the season. And Josh Allen has led this team. Now, regardless of the schedule, they had played what I believe to be a soft schedule, but they have dominated teams as well. So I have Josh Allen as my MVP right now. Can Lamar do something on Sunday to change my mind? He can, but I don't think he will. But only because, one, they don't need him to play the entire game to beat the Cleveland Browns, and I don't expect the Cleveland Browns to put up much of a resistance. So he has to play extraordinary, something that I want to see. I don't expect that. So right now I got Josh Allen.
That was a very objective take on your part, and I commend you. Justin, your thoughts on MVP?
It's this MVP race it's going to be one that we won't forget. I want to share some love for Sam Darnold as well. His numbers are starting to creep up there with everybody else's as well, especially on the passing tip. And he's leading one of the best teams in the whole entire league. So shout out to him. Also want to give some love for Baker Mayfield as well. He is dominating this league right now, but he has like 6 or 7 losses. So we're not going to talk too much about that. But we've
already talked too much about him.
No one expected that from him. So shout out to Baker Mayfield.
They won the division last year, right?
No one expected him to have the statistical season that he's having right now.
Finish your thought.
So
who's your MVP?
Baker. But when it comes to the true MVP, the true MVP is Lamar Jackson. The NFL 2024 MVP will go to Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Quite simple. Lamar got it twice. Voters fatigue. These are people that's voting. First and foremost, they're humans. It's not by any kind of, computer metrics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 2, when you go to the All-Pro list, you're going to have someone that's almost Offensive Player of the Year in his own right in Derrick Henry. Of course, y'all said that. Josh Allen has none. That's it. That's the whole shebang.
Who's your first team All-Pro?
For
quarterback.
I don't know. We gotta see how everything pans out. But if I'm going with MVP, it should be Josh.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I have been thinking that Lamar still has a chance, but I just think it's a narrative award. And I don't think Josh has played sensational the last 2 weeks. He didn't play bad yesterday. He was pretty good, but he didn't need to play that great. That's the thing.
He needed to win.
It was the destruction. You know what I mean? So I just think it says more about him not chasing stats. And so I'll give them that. Lamar sat out the fourth quarter the other day. Josh sat out the fourth quarter this past Sunday. If they would just pass stat padding, Saquon could have kept running yesterday too. You know what I mean?
He did run the fourth quarter unnecessarily though.
But he got over his 2,000.
He got 2,000.
Took him out the game. You know what I mean? He could have ran over to the end if you just wanted to pad your stats. But honestly, again, before the year, I said I thought the Bills was going to make the playoffs, and I thought it was all because of Josh Allen, 100%. And that is the only reason why I will give him the nod here. So, and it'd be hard to take it away from him at this point because the narrative has kind of been set. And anything at this point, because they had the division wrapped up, because they're locked in at the number 2 seed, they do have the luxury of playing in a softer AFC East. But before the season, did we think that this AFC was going to be the East was going to be that soft? We had Miami making the playoffs. Y'all had the Jets making the playoffs. Somebody had the Jets making the Super Bowl. So again,
you ain't got to keep bringing up old stuff.
I'm just saying, it's not like
2,000-yard rusher.
It's not like we thought that Josh Allen had a cakewalk going into the season. It's just turned out that that's what's happened. You know what I mean? And he, with losing his weapons, was able to get his team to the hump. So again, we'll discuss this.
Yes,
further.
we all know that Lamar beat him head to head, right? But those 2 victories that he had over Kansas City and Detroit,
they matter.
That means something. That one loss that Kansas City has, it was to Josh Allen.
Yeah, and Detroit was still Detroit when they lost to the Buffalo.
Correct.
Yeah, they had their running backs and everything. So give them that. Other thing we got to talk about is the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers got a big victory over the Carolina Panthers, who have shown some fight here at least recently, but I think they folded their tent. They see them draft picks coming up, and they kind of turned it in, and they let Tampa Bay have their way with them. But the biggest story is now Tampa Bay has the stranglehold on that NFC South, it appears, with 1 game left, especially after what we saw last night. Justin, what was your thoughts on this Tampa Bay game? What did your Bucs look like, and what Baker Mayfield's doing down there in Tampa?
I'm not shocked. I'll say that. I expected Baker to put on a great performance, and that's what he did. Carolina, I think they wanted to see what Bryce Young was about, just like your intro. We seen what he's about. He is a player that you can constantly build around. I think he's shown that. But yeah, let's wrap it up. Thank you for showing that you're a good guy. You're a good player. And let's get these draft picks. Don't do too much, and we just want to fade out of here. and it's the very
The
opposite.
Giants
of
didn't
Tampa
get that
Bay.
memo.
I was curious. Unlike the Giants,
we needed to win, and we still need to win next week. It's not over. Shout out to Washington. I love DC, man. It's my guys for taking Atlanta out, but we just got to keep rolling. Shout out to Mike Evans. He needs 85 yards in order to get that 1,000 mark yet again for the 11th year, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what we all about. We're going against the Saints. It's a very tough Saints team. They've always played tough against us, but they don't have Lattimore no more. Thank you, Jesus. So that should be a lot easier for Mike to get those 85. I don't care if you got to have 15 catches. Get that man those 85 yards.
Y'all ain't gonna see him in the playoffs.
And then that's it. No.
That chasing terrible.
It's just it is what it is. I expected it.
Calvin, you don't need to give no more thoughts on this game. What's your thoughts on overall the fact that Washington was able to get a win over Atlanta in overtime?
That was a heck of a game last night. I didn't expect Penix to perform that way, just in that clutch on that last drive. But JD5 showed why he's the offensive rookie of the year and leading that team. And for that score, winning mattered most when they had ability to control that playoff fate. He secured that playoff fate. Now they're going to the playoffs. So I think that's what you do when they're rookie of the year. And those guys are riding for him. They have his back. As long as they can stay some semblance of healthy, I think they got a chance of upsetting someone in the first round, even though they'll be on the road. But great game by those guys, and like he locked up offensive rookie of the year a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. He just put a stamp on it yesterday.
Yeah, I really want to give a shout out to Michael Penix Jr. I thought he played pretty well. He got a little quiet in the third quarter, but that was a lot of what Washington did. They held the ball for almost the whole quarter.
Yeah,
like you rarely see something like that. They had one drive of 3 and out, and I think the rest of the time Washington just held the ball. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
but they were able to force that overtime and just came up short, man. But next week is the showdown. We'll see. We'll see. They got the tiebreaker, so gotta hope that Tampa Bay stumps that toe.
Atlanta, right?
Yeah, Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Also, the Eagles were able to get a big win over the Cowboys to try to make sure they secure that number 2 seed. But again, that thing is still like up in the air because you got Minnesota, you got Detroit, it's just so tight at the top of that NFC.
I thought they locked in the 2 seed.
Are they locked in there?
How they were locked in 2 seed?
Oh, because one of them got to be the wild card.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So the Eagles got it. Good for them. They embarrassed the Dallas Cowboys on yesterday. Absolute thrubbing. Calvin, give us your thoughts.
Dallas Cowboys finally did what I thought they needed to do, which is lose the ball game and get better draft position. But look, Kenny Pickett served well. I'm kind of worried about Jalen Hurts. I thought he would be healthy enough to play this week. Now, maybe they just figured they didn't need him. Mm-hmm. And you can actually buy him an extra week, and now you have to buy him 2 weeks, and then you worry about who's coming to Philly in a couple of weeks. But that offense with Saquon, when he gets the ball and behind the offensive line, we saw what he did last week. I guess the question's up in the air. Does he go after the record this week when he's really not needed? And when he's 100 yards, but 100 yards could be 20 carries because that's a whole lot more wear and tear on him. It's a big decision for him to make because obviously he was in on the decision to get 2,000 and make sure he got 2,000 in 16 games versus 17 games, which I know everyone will talk about when you talk about historians and all the records going forward.
Good point.
So it's important to get it in 16 games. But I think this Philadelphia offense, once they get that quarterback healthy and he's been able to rest with a couple of other ailments he has in addition to the concussion, they could be a dangerous team as well. And if you're Minnesota or Detroit and you have to go to Philadelphia in round 2 with a better record, and you're going to have those fans there, that's not going to be a friendly environment.
Yeah, I agree with that. Justin, your thoughts on Saquon? Should he rest next week? Should he play?
Look here, man. This is the type of person that can get 100 yards in 1 quarter. He has 2 quarters with that being said. That's all he got. He got 1 half. I'm quite sure he knows, bro, you got 1 half and we are pulling the plug.
Hella tosses and pitches. Watch.
So that's it right there. That's it in a nutshell. He got 1 half in order to break the record. But shout out to him getting 2,000 yards in 16 games. Shout out to Saquon.
Big stuff. Yeah. Next up, we got to talk about Sam Darnold. Last night, look, guys. Whatever you thought about him before, there's something to be said about when a team has surrounded you with good talent and you're in a scheme that works. We know all about that. Kevin O'Connell, he's in that same tree that we always talk about, that West Coast system that works. They all come from the same coaching tree, and it's a quarterback-friendly offensive scheme. And I think Sam Darnold was left for dead after the Jets, and then he went to Carolina, looked like trash down there. But just getting around the right people, playing with Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hockenson, just weapons all around you. A running back friendly who can catch the ball out the backfield. I mean, just things that surround him and make him look good. But the man is making throws. He's making throws. You can't just say he's a system quarterback. The guy's playing well. Remember, this guy was highly touted out of USC. He's not some bum, some scrub they found off the street. So give him credit. The Minnesota Vikings are dangerous, and we're going to talk about that later in our power rankings. But, man, great job. So let's talk about Sam, and then we're going to talk about these Packers. Justin?
Hey, man, Sam is doing everything that you said very eloquently. He's putting on a performance, MVP-esque performance. We're not saying he's MVP, guys. We're just saying that his stats are up there.
Top 5.
A nominee for Offensive Player of the Year, that type of thing. He is getting everybody involved. He's keeping Jordan Addison happy. He's keeping Justin Jefferson happy. They got TJ back, and he's into the mold as well. The running backs eating. I mean, everybody's eating on behalf of Sam Darnold. And I know that going into the season, we was like, yo, it's going to be him. It's going to be JJ. Okay, JJ got hurt. We'll see what Sam does. Sam was a throwaway. I mean, and everybody threw him away and just said, Minnesota, good luck to you. And, you know, he's cashing in those
better
checks.
than Kirk Cousins did. Call it what it is.
That is true.
Yes, but, you know, he ain't had no injury. So, you know, I give Kirk that little bit of grace.
Calvin?
Yeah, look, he's exceeded my expectations. I still, if you ask me to talk about the Minnesota Vikings, I still don't like their chances just because of Sam Darnold at quarterback, and he continues to prove me wrong. Doesn't mean I'm going to change my opinion, but to this point, they are the class.
That's why North. He changes your opinion, because he keep
proving you wrong. But
and you digging in your heels.
I'm digging in my heels, but my point being. And we'll talk about this a little bit, but do you have them winning next week? Do they win the NFC North?
Yes, I don't think so. That 2 weeks ago.
I don't think so.
I said that 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I don't have beating Detroit next week.
Okay, but we'll get into that in a second. But let's talk about the team you really are high on. That I told you they never win anything. Every time they play an opponent of any stature, any type of opponent that poses any threat, any playoff team, they lose every time. When are you going to get it in your thick skull, Calvin? The Packers aren't as good. They're the youngest team in the NFL. Skull. They just not ready yet.
Called you a Neanderthal.
He did. He did.
Not ready yet, man.
He did. I'm still high on Jordan Love. This defense has been disappointing, but the offense at times with Jordan Love just feels the need to drop back 15 yards to complete a pass is really unnecessary, and he does that against the wrong opponents at the wrong time. And even last night, they only lost by 2, but the game never really felt that close.
That game was
after the first quarter. It was a point where Minnesota controlled the ball, controlled the clock, and were able to get whatever they wanted on offense and control them on defense to take longer for them to score and hold them to field goals and not touchdowns. But they just need a little bit more seasoning. I thought they'd be able to build upon the last year's divisional round trip to San Francisco, but it seemed like they need one more year to kind of get back into gear and build upon that year. But I think for the most part, you can say they've been slightly disappointing and the Green Bay Packers, but they still have a chance to turn around the playoffs.
Justin,
digging in my heels.
I mean, I look at Green Bay, and the number one thing that stands out to me is the fact that they can't give Jalen Reed the ball. He got one catch. I said this multiple times before. They need to dial up San Fran, who's at Kyle Shanahan, and say, like, yo, whatever package pause that you have for Debo Samuel, I'm going to incorporate that with our offense. Like, he needs to be a cornerstone in that offense to keep that thing moving, either rushing, screen passes, deep, but whatever it is, he needs to be involved in the offense. He's that dynamic of a player, and he got one catch for 6 yards. you're nailing yourself in the foot. Christian Watson didn't even play. Like, who are you throwing the ball to? They're going to struggle if you don't use the weapons that's available to you. Now, if you would have flipped the script and say, hey, Sam Darnold, go over there, I guarantee you Sam Darnold will take advantage of him. So it could be John Wayne, could be a coaching thing.
True.
I don't know. But it's something that Green Bay, they go into the playoffs, but they need to work this out. They need to go ahead and figure this out, or it's going to be an early exit for them.
I agree. And finally, because before we get out of here on that, Detroit's playing tonight, so we got a big matchup coming up this week. We'll preview that in a minute, but this NFC North is going to be very interesting coming down to Week 18. Let's get our power rankings together. Get your power rankings out.
So tonight doesn't matter then.
No, essentially it doesn't. Yeah, because they got the tiebreakers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, has to come down to Week 17. Week 18 really, but so let's take a review of last week's power rankings. Calvin, you had the Buffalo Bills as your number one team in the league. Justin, you had the Kansas City Chiefs, and I had the Minnesota Vikings. Will anything change? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, Detroit currently is losing. Let's not consider that right now because we all doing this. Typically, we do this on Tuesday, but let's just assume Detroit wins tonight. Or if they y'all think that's fair, let's assume Detroit wins this game and take that into account, or should we just say? I just think
that's fair.
That's only fair. If anything, all of us got them at 3. Do y'all think Detroit deserves to go lower than 3?
If they win, if they win, I'm keeping them at 3 in my power rankings.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. It's not really going to change much. So. Justin, you started first last week, so I'll start first this week. My number.
We're gonna have the same 7 teams.
My number 17 in my power rankings is the Washington Commanders.
You just gonna say Wizards or something?
I'm about to say Redskins. Oh, I did anyway. Sorry. Calvin, who's the number 7 on your list?
Same team. I got the Commanders at number 7.
Justin, who you got at number 7?
My heart wants to put.
You want to put Tampa Bay in there, so I knew.
But
last week at the loss.
That I expected that Dallas team that just performed. I expected that last week. They didn't show up. This is gonna make everybody the same. I don't like it. Let's go with Tampa Bay. Yep. That they won in such a dominant performance.
Same 7 teams.
They had
dominant against Carolina.
Hey man, when you got put up 48 points, you put up 48 points, man. Thank you.
Hey, whatever works.
If only y'all did that the week before.
For me, I'm going number 6. Oh, what did I just do? Did I just move something?
You did move it.
You flipped mine.
Yeah. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens at number 6. Justin, who you got? No, it's Calvin. Excuse me, Calvin. Who's the number 6?
Same thing. I got Ravens at 6. Same thing.
Oh, Ravens get back into your list. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Where's Baltimore down here? Full disclosure, I don't have my mouse on me, so I'm doing a little old school tonight. So bear with me. Right. Justin, who you got?
Man,
you about to disrespect somebody.
Somebody about to get disrespected for sure.
About to get,
only you guys think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to win.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair.
That's fine. I mean, I probably, even if they lost, I would probably still have my top 7.
And it's going to be close.
Barring injury.
And if it's close, or if they closely win, or if they lose,
dropping for you.
They dropping. I'm going with Detroit.
They dropping out? Oh, okay.
No, he got him at number 6.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, even if they lost, I would probably still have my top 7.
Those injuries are starting to pile up for them, for me.
They are.
I don't like. You can't say you're week 17. It's a 13-win team, and they're not one of the top 7, in my opinion, in the league. So.
Yeah. For me, I'm going at number 5. They have been looking better here. I will say this, but because they lost to Buffalo, I'm not putting them over the Bills. I'll go with the Chiefs. Calvin, who you got?
I got Philadelphia at 5. I want to see Jalen Hurts. I just want to make sure that he has some resemblance of what we saw earlier in the year. Like, we haven't seen him in 2 weeks. You look great yesterday with Kenny Pickett. I just want to see Jalen Hurts do that. I probably won't see it this week or for that long, but I just need to see it. And then they will be higher. Like, I contemplated putting him a little bit higher, but I just want to see Jalen Hurts prior to the playoffs. And then I'll be comfortable with him.
Okay.
Yeah, I got him at 5 right
Justin,
now.
who you got at number 5?
Let's go with I'm going Buffalo.
Wow. You haven't liked what
That's
you've seen that much?
The reason for my next team will explain that.
Okay. I'm going this is the only change in my power rankings from last week. To be fair, I thought I did an excellent job last week, as the record shows, because basically you all have the same teams as me, except for you all had to change one because you all had Green Bay. I did not. I will put Detroit down 1 because I must take into account that Buffalo did beat them. I'm going Detroit there. Calvin, who you got?
Yeah, I got Detroit at 4. Just based off, I'm going to base off how they're looking right now and how Minnesota looked yesterday. I still would favor Detroit in the matchup, especially at home. But at least right now, I think Minnesota looks better. Especially you're telling me no Montgomery as well. But I'm gonna go with Detroit 4.
Justin, who you got at number 3?
I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles.
4, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm going with the Eagles.
Last.
No, I'm sorry. Pause for that. Pause.
Is that Sam Laporta?
Yep.
The Ravens.
Yes. All right. I like that. Baltimore. Good job, Sam. I needed that, baby. All right. Okay. So you got Baltimore over Buffalo because they beat them.
Oh, because they beat them.
Mm-hmm.
They beat them, and I think that one team is. I mean, we just
Hotter.
saw what they're doing. Let's take a quick second to say shout out to the Ravens for when that schedule that y'all just went on and to dominate the way that y'all did.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. To play 3 games in like 10 days or whatever the case may be, that's
didn't have to play all of the games. To be honest with you, they look pretty good. Oh, tie game.
That's why they get a bump from it.
Yeah, and just to speak on that for a second, while we shouting out the Ravens, got to give them credit because they lost to Cleveland and they lost to the Raiders. If you really look at this, those losses have lowered their threat level in a lot of ways. So we can talk about that later. But
yeah.
Next up for me is the Buffalo Bills, and the only reason why I'm going to say that because I feel like they have a stranglehold, and I feel like they took their foot up the gas because they know the playoffs is coming, and they got it. They locked in, and I just think they read. Only thing that matters to them is the playoffs now. Calvin?
I got Buffalo as well. One thing
so they dropped from number 1 all the way down
to number 3. The thing that still bothers me about Buffalo is their defense. Now, I don't really put too much into yesterday's matchup. I think their home field advantage is what carried them on defense at home enough. We saw them on the road against the Rams give up so many points. We saw them in Baltimore give up a lot of points. We saw them in Houston not being able to stop Houston early in the season. So I think at home, their defense is okay, but even against some of the elite offenses, I'm not sure they can still do enough. And I think that's the worry that they need to have. And I think we discount their weapons, but their weapons are adequate. But against a decent defense, I think they can be made to look inferior. And I think that's what we'll see in the playoffs. So I'll drop them a little bit.
All right. Justin, who you got next?
Philadelphia.
What's your reason?
Simple reason. They still maintain their dominance with a backup quarterback. That shows that if times get tough and Jalen can't make it or whatever the case may be, they can still pretty much ride and maintain in whatever flow they have, mainly because of Saquon. but
Okay.
that makes them a tough, well-rounded team.
Well, I got Philly at number 2 because I had him at number 2 last week, and I didn't see anything different other than I thought Devontae Smith got back on track yesterday after dropping that pass last week. They really should have iced that Washington game, which is why I didn't drop them that much because I thought it was kind of a fluke that they lost last week. So I like Philly. I think they're better than a lot of people on both sides of the ball, and I think long term that's why they're going to the Super Bowl. So I got them at number 2. Calvin, who you got at your number 2?
I got Minnesota.
Respect for Minnesota. Hey, all right.
Look, I think this changes. I think this could change, most likely changes next week, but I'll give them credit for what they did yesterday to a Green Bay team that I had in my top 7, and they beat them at home. And like I said, I don't think the score dictated how good of a win that was.
Mm-hmm. Justin, who you got?
Number 2, Minnesota Vikings.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Just dominate.
I get it. And Minnesota's my number 1 team for the second week in a row. I think they will win the division next week. They will win the number 1 overall seed in the NFC by defeating the Lions. And I think this team is just that's going to be representative of the season they've had under the radar, just enough. A lot of people looking at Detroit, but Minnesota's been plugging along on both sides of the ball, playing great ball. And both of you all have Kansas City as your number 1 team.
Yeah, like we talked about with the Ravens, 3 games in 11 days, win all 3 of those. You clinch up number 1 seed, win the division. Now week 18 doesn't matter, and you have a bye week, so you get to experiment with your line to play a couple guys more. And now you can kind of choose who you want to be in the playoffs as well. Do you want Denver to be in, or do you think Cincinnati has a better chance to be beating Buffalo? Does that help you? You kind of have a chance to play a little bit of chess if you decide to. And because you've gone 15-1 to this point, you have that right to do so.
Agreed. Justin, any other thoughts on Kansas City?
Hey, man. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid.
Yep. So good list. Again, my same 7 teams from last week, so I'll take credit for being smart. But yeah, I think this is just these are the best teams in the league right now to me. And I think going into the playoffs, if you had to pick one team that do you say is the most dangerous, who's the team that nobody wants to play right now of these 7 teams? Justin, who you think?
The team that just put up 48 points. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No. Honestly, it's hard for me. I'm torn between Kansas City or Baltimore. This is get off the damn fence. I gotta make a decision. I'm going to go with Kansas City because they all getting their act right at the right time.
Calvin, who you think is the most dangerous?
I think it's Baltimore. Run game travels, and this time of year, I think if anything happens, you can rely on Derrick Henry to get you a first down in 3 carries. And I think that's dangerous when you can prolong drive. You're forced to put an extra person in the box, and you're committed to the run game. As long as you're committed, then you're dangerous because we know what Lamar Jackson brings. We know how he can extend plays. We see the weapons that he has. We see the athleticism of Isaiah Likely, the hands of Mark Andrews. I think they're rolling on all cylinders right now. And I think you don't want to play that offense because you got to put up touchdowns and not field goals. And I didn't even mention the defense of Baltimore Ravens as well. It's playing exceptional the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. I was going to say the Ravens. I would have said Philly if Jalen Hurts was healthy, but
agreed.
I just think the Ravens defense is the key, and that's what's been missing. And even last year, running game and defense was the issue, and they cleaned that up. So I'm very excited for what we're looking to see down the stretch. All right, before we get out here, let's look at a couple playoff scenarios. The only one really in doubt in the AFC is that final 7th seed. Is some different mix-ups that can happen if the Ravens lose to Cleveland on Saturday. The game is at 4:30 on Saturday, and in Pittsburgh plays after. These 2 teams will flip. The Ravens will be the wild card. There's a chance that Baltimore and Pittsburgh could play in the first round. There's a chance that there's so many different seeding flips that can happen.
I think that's the only one that's up in the air, though, right? Just those 3.
Aside from number 7.
Yeah.
Number 7, and that scenario plays out just like this. If the Broncos win or Denver and Cincinnati lose, the Broncos are in. So the Broncos can secure that
In Miami. You mean Miami?
Yeah. No.
You said
no.
Broncos and Denver. You said the Broncos win or Denver Cincinnati loses.
Shit, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Plus a Cincinnati loss. If Broncos win, plus a Cincinnati loss, they're in. They win, Denver and Cincinnati. The Dolphins can get in if they win, but they also need the Denver Broncos to lose, right? They play the Jets. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh play the Bengals. The Bengals need to win, and they need the Broncos and the Dolphins to win. So they have the longest shot. They need everything to go right. I mean, now, is there a chance the Jets beat the Dolphins? Maybe.
It's in New York. It's supposed to be 20 degrees on Sunday.
Tua's not playing, probably. We don't know. He didn't play last week. Huntley got a win. Good for him. But we know he don't play well down the stretch. The Broncos, can they lose to the Chiefs? It looks like there's no reason for Mahomes to play. So he'll get 2 weeks off. I don't know. What do y'all see as the most likely thing to happen this weekend? Do Denver just win and all this doesn't matter?
So for me, I think that's the thing. I think Denver wins because unless Kansas City won the number 1 overall record, unless they're going for that, which who knows. But if they honestly, guys, they might play because if you know that you're going to have a bye week, you have a week off. Like playing it's already there. I already have it. So they might play. I thought it was play a half. They might bring this thing into the third quarter. If not the whole game. So if you're telling me that, then Bronco loses. And I think the Jets beat the Dolphins just because it's a Jets thing to do. And now we're looking at the Bengals. If this plays out, it'll be funny. Shout out to Nightcap because Chad Ocho been on this for weeks now. But I think the Bengals get in. Because Kansas City is actually going to play.
I agree. I think Kansas City, the starters played 2-3 quarters, and I still think Carson Wentz can hold it down for a quarter and close out that ball game. I got the Jets beating the Dolphins in New York, and I think that game is in Pittsburgh, the Bengals game. But the Pittsburgh has been in the downslide, and the only thing that bothers me is a Cincinnati win. Means most likely Pittsburgh comes here in a wild card round, which is you got your choice between Pittsburgh and the Chargers. You want to face Pittsburgh a third time? No, but if that's the tough road you got to go to get the Super Bowl, I'm happy about it. But I think Cincinnati gets that last seed. I think everything has just kind of fallen into place for them. I think they get that last seed and they go to Buffalo, and I think that's the game that no one talks about because everyone just thinks that Buffalo's going to steamroll them.
Interesting, man. I don't know, man. I kind of prefer Cincinnati not to make it. I mean, to me, I want the Ravens to have to face the Buffalo Bills in the second round, and then got to go to Kansas City and get the win. I want the toughest road. I want Josh Allen and I want Patrick Mahomes, and I want Lamar to slay them both and get to the Super Bowl. I don't want let's play Pittsburgh again. Nobody gonna give us credit for beating Pittsburgh again. You don't get no credit for beating Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. It doesn't excite me.
Let me go back to the question you just asked. If Cincinnati is in the playoffs, who is the most dangerous team in the AFC?
Cincinnati. The hell.
Okay. What'd you say, Jeff?
But they might beat Buffalo.
The Bengals getting in and makes the whole playoff that much more exciting. I'll say that.
Of course they do.
I agree with that.
As a Ravens fan, I want to beat Josh Allen. I don't want Joe Burrow to get another signature win so everybody can crown him again. That's all. I'm just a hater. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
I mean, I agree, but I think, look, does Pittsburgh want to win and play Houston versus playing Baltimore in a wild card round? I think that's what they prefer. I don't think they'll ever say that, but
of course you.
I mean, I think Kansas City is trying to get Hollywood. Yeah, I think Kansas City still trying to get Hollywood more acclimated. I think if you're Pittsburgh, you want to get this offense right again, so you're going to try to play as long as you can. But I mean, I think they have the advantage because they can decide what they want to do based off what happens at 4:30. they play at 8, they can say, "Hey, we can't win the division. We're locked to the wild card round. Do we want to try to win and get to Houston? Do we just rest and get to the next week?" So they have a decision to make.
Yeah. Interesting. Also, only other games that really have some big implications. We talked a little bit. Tampa, you got Tampa in New Orleans, and you got that Carolina and Atlanta game. Tampa can make this a moot point, but they both play at the same time. So
that Seattle LA game this for the division, I think.
Oh, yeah,
they locked it up last night.
I was talking about
they locked it up last night
at once. Yeah. That is
they locked it up last night. So I think Seattle can't make the playoffs. This is a wrap.
Yeah, they done.
No, they still can. They still in the bubble.
No, I think
LA got the division. LA got the division of last week.
They had no chance at the wild card.
Yeah, if LA won because Washington won and like strength of schedule and all that stuff, so they locked up the division.
That's done.
Yeah,
they ain't got no chance of winning the wild card.
Yeah, I think
the only already decided.
The only seeds that are up for grabs are the AFC South,
the 7th seed,
and the 5 seed. Who's going to be the 1 and the 5?
Yeah, just switching around. Yeah, and then the only other game of real consequence is that 8:30 game on Sunday night NBC, Minnesota Vikings and Detroit Lions for the division and no one overall seed. If the Lions win, they will have the best record in it. Well, I think the way it plays out, if the Lions lose tonight, they'll have 3 losses. Minnesota will have 2 losses. But then if they beat them next week, according to tiebreaker,
they'll have the tiebreaker. I don't. So tonight's game does not matter because Detroit can lose.
Detroit gotta win next week. They gotta win next week.
That's it. Detroit doesn't have. Detroit can lose right now, and they can start pushing the 1 seed next week.
Yeah, they have no cushion.
So it doesn't. I don't. Yeah. So next week doesn't even. This week doesn't even matter to Detroit.
No, Philly doesn't need to play at all. They have nothing to play for. They're locked in. The Colts, they blew every chance they had when they lost to the Giants last week. Yep. I don't know what the hell man. The Commanders are locked into a wild card.
Did the Chargers play their starters?
No.
For what?
I mean, if they win, if you'll know if Pittsburgh lost Saturday night, if we win, we can be the 5 seed.
Yeah.
So if Pittsburgh wins, then it doesn't matter. If Pittsburgh loses, you have your choice. Do you want to be the 5 seed or?
Good point. Good point. All right. So a lot of stuff.
The injuries they have in JK just coming back. I wouldn't change that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. And then they lost.
Got a good point. Good point.
Gus Edwards not playing, so he didn't play last week.
That's a good point. I forgot about that. That's a good point. So
yeah. So some of these teams are edgy, but so a lot of stuff good with the NFL coming up. So we're gonna keep an eye on all of that. Before we get out of here, we got to talk about fantasy football really quick. Calvin, I when I gave up my spot as the commissioner of the league, I thought I'd turn over to a man of integrity. Someone I could really carry on this match. And I can't believe that you would allow something like this to actually go forward. How could the rules change and you not notify anybody that the way we do things just is going to change?
The rules never change. We can vote to change them next year, but the rules never change. The only thing let me say that back. Let me say that again. The only rule that changed are the rules that we talked about, which is we eliminated one position not this season, but last season, and that was the only. And we upped the money. Those are the only rules that have changed.
So since when?
I changed nothing else. I changed nothing else.
More than 6 teams make the playoffs. I've never seen that like this.
It was like that last year. I changed nothing else.
It do make sense based off what we call our team name. It is the Elite 8, so that does make sense.
Yeah.
No, because at one point we only had 8 teams in the league. That's why I was called the Elite.
We got 10 now, so.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to do that, somebody got to get a bye. Like
we can vote on that for next year. But like I said, I've changed nothing outside of things that I brought to the forefront to the table. We can talk about that for next year.
If you did it by mistake, but there's no way in the world I had the best record all year long.
and got smoked in the first round.
I didn't get smoked. I didn't even know I was playing. And then I looked, I'm like, why don't I have a bye? What is going on here? Kyle was like the ninth seed. He had no business in the playoffs. Anyway,
He was like the 6th.
no, he wasn't.
No, he was the 8th.
Eighth.
He
Oh,
played
he's
you,
eighth.
yeah.
He played me. I was 1. Pathetic.
But Reggie gonna win. I'm assuming. When I looked last night,
Yeah,
I
I
hadn't.
think he got. Congratulations. He'll get the belt. As long as Kyle didn't win, I'll be fine because I'm like, that's not fair. That's not. At least Reggie was number 2, so he had a good season. You know what I mean? He got hot at the right time.
Yeah,
But,
that Mahomes got hot, and he had I think he had McBride.
Yeah, but
He
for
had
the
somebody
record,
else that was just,
I
that just
had
been
the
hot.
most points in the league, and I will be getting whatever prize comes with that.
Yeah.
That's consolation.
I'll reach out to the 3 of you tomorrow after it's official. I mean, I think it's official because I don't think Reggie could lose going into tonight. But
I thought it was a chance because he had the quarterback. He got Jared Goff.
he had, but I mean, he was down like 180, so he needed.
He needed Goff to have one of them 100-point
'Cause
games like everybody else been having lately. Don't it seem like his scoring been higher this year?
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, he got Gibbs too.
Yo, it seemed like the fantasy scoring in this league been like.
And you know what's crazy? We took a position away, and the scoring higher.
I've never
like,
seen nothing like it. Yeah. I ain't never seen that many quarterbacks putting up no 100-point games.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy to me.
We gotta check the scoring because I was pissed after that first week. I don't understand. Lamar had 5 touchdowns.
So we got
and
different scoring
Jalen Hurts
and a different playoff position, and you
I'm
ain't do
telling you,
nothing.
Something
Jalen
going
Hurts-
on, Justin.
Jalen,
Something going on,
I would say, look, if I did anything, Lamar had 5 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts had 3. Jalen Hurts had like 5 less points. I'm like, how was this?
Maybe you hit a button by mistake.
I did
Something
not.
happened. We need to
I
look
would
at it.
have changed it for myself.
Yeah, I'm just saying, no, maybe some setting or something changed to something. You just didn't realize it. Because it just seemed like everything been kind of different to me this year. But anyway, it's fine. I lost. I'll take my loss like a man. And Justin, you might even beat me this week, right? I didn't look.
I don't know when I was winning, and then
I mean, I can't win.
JD5 went off.
Who the hell released
Okay.
Chubba Hubbard? Hurt or something?
Oh no, I'm beating you. Yeah, but
Yeah,
you still
JD5
got,
went off.
you still got Jameson Williams in there. I think he scored like 2 touchdowns a night.
Well, let him score 2 more.
For the bragging rights. All right, fellas, it's been fun. Happy birthday to Nika. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. Happy New Year
birthday.
to all. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight.
And to
Anybody
all,
watching
a
this
good
after, but Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2025 for another edition of Get Off the Damn Fist. Y'all have a good one.